Captain James Harrison stood at the helm of the USS Dauntless, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. The massive starship hung in orbit around HD 209458b, a gas giant nicknamed Osiris due to its proximity to its resulting atmospheric loss. But it wasn't the planet that held the crew's attention. It was what lurked on its largest moon, Anubis. Status report, Harrison barked, his steely eyes fixed on the swirling storms of Osiris. Lieutenant Commander Michael Chen, the ship's science officer, cleared his throat. Sir, we've detected multiple biosignatures on Anubis. They're unlike anything we've ever encountered. Harrison turned, raising an eyebrow. Explain. Chen manipulated his console, bringing up a series of readouts. The life forms appear to be silicon-based, sir. They thrive in extreme cold and darkness. Our initial scans suggest they're highly resistant to radiation and possess some form of bioluminescence. Intelligent? Harrison asked. Chen nodded grimly. Initial assessments indicate a civilization roughly equivalent to our early industrial age. But sir, there's something else. The captain's eyes narrowed. Out with it, Chen. They're predatory, sir. Extremely so. And if our readings are correct, they're terrifying. Even by our standards. Harrison let out a low whistle. Humanity had encountered its fair share of alien life in the centuries since leaving Earth. But true predatory intelligence was rare. Show me, he ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying grainy footage captured by stealth drones. The surface of Anubis was a nightmare landscape of jagged ice formations and yawning chasms. In the perpetual twilight, shadows moved with unsettling grace. Suddenly, a creature lunged into view. It was massive, easily the size of a small shuttlecraft. Its body was a writhing mass of tentacles, each tipped with gleaming crystalline structures that pulsed with an eerie inner light. A cluster of eyes, glowing like embers, swiveled independently. As they watched, the creature's form seemed to ripple and shift, partially blending into the surrounding darkness. Good God, Harrison breathed. Chen nodded. They're ambush predators, sir. Highly aggressive and territorial. Our probes didn't last long once detected. Harrison's jaw clenched. Under normal circumstances, they'd mark this moon as off limits and move on. But their mission was clear: establish a listening post to monitor Gliese 436, a nearby star showing signs of artificial manipulation. Anubis was the only viable location within range. Options, he asked, addressing his senior staff. Commander William Bull Taurus, the grizzled head of security, spoke up. We go in hot, sir. Full combat drop. These beasties may be scary, but they've never met Marines with pulse rifles and power armor. Dr. Elias Miki, the ship's exobiologist, shook his head vehemently. Absolutely not. We're talking about an intelligent species here. We can't just... They're monsters, Taurus interrupted. You saw the footage. They'd tear us apart given half a chance. Harrison held up a hand, silencing the brewing argument. Gentlemen, please. Dr. Maki, I understand your concerns. But we have our orders, and this listening post is vital to galactic security. We need boots on the ground. He turned to Chen. What about environmental conditions? Chen consulted his readings. Atmospheric pressure is within tolerable limits, sir. Composition is primarily nitrogen and methane. Temperature averages around 180°C. Our suits can handle it, but it won't be comfortable. Harrison nodded, his mind racing. All right, here's what we're going to do. We'll send down a small recon team first. Full stealth protocols. I want to know everything about these creatures before we commit to a larger operation. He pointed at Taurus. Commander, I want you leading this one personally. Take our best. Chen, you're going too. We need your expertise on the ground. Both men nodded. Determination etched on their faces. Remember, Harrison continued, his voice grave. This is strictly reconnaissance. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. We're guests in their home, no matter how unwelcome. Dismissed. As the officers filed out to prepare, Harrison turned back to the view screen. The swirling storms of Osiris filled his vision, but his mind was on the dark moon below and the horrors that awaited his men. The dropship cut through Anubis' thin atmosphere like a knife, its stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible to both sensors and the naked eye. Inside, Taurus and his team performed final equipment checks. The air was thick with tension. 2 minutes to touchdown, the pilot's voice crackled over the comm. Taurus stood, his massive frame made even more imposing by the sleek lines of his power armor. All right, ladies, he growled, his gravelly voice filled with grim humor. Welcome to the ass end of nowhere. Remember your training, watch your corners, and for the love of God, don't try to pet the nice alien murder squids. A few nervous chuckles rippled through the squad. Chen, looking decidedly out of place in his bulky environmental suit, cleared his throat. Commander, I've been analyzing the data from our long-range scans. These creatures, they don't just hunt. They're apex predators. Everything on this moon fears them. Taurus grinned, the expression more predatory than reassuring. Good thing we're not from this moon, then, eh? The dropship shuddered as it touched down. With a hiss of hydraulics, the rear hatch opened, revealing a landscape straight out of a nightmare. Jagged spires of ice stretched toward a sky devoid of stars, the distant gas giant Australis casting everything in a sickly, muted light. Move out, Taurus ordered. Stay tight, stay quiet. The squad fanned out, their footsteps crunching on the frozen ground. Chen's suit whirred softly as he activated various sensors, his eyes darting between his instruments and the alien terrain. For nearly an hour they encountered nothing but desolation. Then, without warning, Chen's hand shot up, signaling a halt. Movement, he whispered into the calm. 3:00, about 200 meters. Taurus signaled the squad to take cover. They melted into the shadows of a massive ice formation, their armor's adaptive camouflage rendering them nearly invisible. At first nothing, then a flicker of movement, a shape detached itself from the darkness, flowing across the landscape with terrible grace. It was one of the tentacled horrors they'd seen in the drone footage, but seeing it in person was something else entirely. The creature paused, its cluster of eyes swiveling. For a heart-stopping moment it seemed to look directly at their position. Then, with a ripple of its crystalline hide, it vanished into a crevasse. Holy shit, someone whispered. Taurus' voice was tight. Stay frosty. Chen, what have you got? The scientist's voice was filled with awe and terror in equal measure. It's incredible. The bioluminescence isn't just for show. It's some kind of active camouflage. And the crystalline structures. They're sensory organs, incredibly sophisticated. This thing can probably detect the electric field of our synapses firing. Meaning? Meaning it knows we're here. It's hunting us. As if to punctuate Chen's words, an unearthly shriek split the air. It was answered by another, then another, until the entire landscape seemed to vibrate with alien hunger. Fall back to the LZ, Taurus ordered, his voice calm despite the situation. Defensive formation. These things want to play. Let's show them what humans can do. The squad began a fighting retreat, their weapons trained on the surrounding shadows. Shapes flickered at the edge of vision, always just out of clear sight. Suddenly, a mass of tentacles erupted from the ground directly beneath Private Rodriguez. The young Marine's scream was cut short as he was dragged into the ice. Contact, Taurus roared. Light him up. The night exploded into chaos. Pulse rifles spat coherent light, burning through alien flesh. The creatures shrieked in pain and rage, their camouflage faltering as they launched themselves at the humans. Chen found himself back to back with Taurus, his scientific curiosity warring with primal terror. This is all wrong, he shouted over the din of battle. They're too aggressive. This isn't normal hunting behavior. Taurus grunted as he wrestled with a tentacle trying to pry off his helmet. You think? He snarled before driving an armored fist into a cluster of alien eyes. The battle raged for what felt like hours, but was likely only minutes. The Marines fought with desperate skill, their advanced weaponed armor proving a match for alien ferocity. But they were outnumbered, and the creature seemed to materialize from the very shadows themselves. Just as it seemed they would be overwhelmed, the ground shook. A blinding light pierced the eternal twilight, and the roar of massive engines filled the air. The USS Dauntless descended from the clouds, its weapons blazing. Precision strikes vaporized the largest concentrations of aliens, while its powerful floodlights banished the shadows in which they thrived. As quickly as it had begun, the battle was over. The surviving creatures fled, melting into crevasses and caverns. Harrison's voice crackled over the comm. Report. Taurus did a quick head count. They'd lost 3 men, with several others injured. Could be worse, sir, he replied grimly, but I don't recommend shore leave here. Understood. Prepare for immediate evac. We're going to have to rethink our entire approach. As the dropship descended to retrieve them, Chen approached Taurus. The scientist's suit was scorched and dented, but his eyes blazed with excitement. Commander, he said breathlessly, I think I understand now. These creatures, they're not just predators. They're the dominant species on a world of darkness. To them, we're the monsters. Creatures of light and fire, immune to their greatest weapons of stealth and terror. Taurus raised an eyebrow. Your point? Chen grinned. My point is, we scared them just as much as they scared us, maybe more. We came here thinking we'd encounter invincible alien horrors, but in the end we're the real terrors of this story. As they boarded the dropship, Taurus couldn't help but chuckle. Chen, my friend, he said, clapping the scientifically into me to introduce you to the concept of fun when we get back to the ship. The dropship's hatch closed, shutting out the twilight world of Anubis. As they ascended, Chen looked out the viewport. In the distance, he could see the faint bioluminescent glow of the alien creatures, watching from the safety of their shadowy domain. He smiled to himself. Humanity had faced its nightmares and emerged victorious. Whatever challenges lay ahead in the vast darkness of space, they would face them with the light of courage and the fire of determination. For in the end, it wasn't the aliens who were the scariest monsters in the galaxy. It was us,